Some say I'm crazy, some say I'm stupid. Some would even say I'm right. But what I do know is that all that matters are the facts. And Yamato will not join. Hi, I'm Vagabond Kana, and I may be crazy, but I'm crazy enough to stand my ground as well. And today I'll be proving to you that Yamato is not fit to become a Straw Hat. But someone is. Don't get me wrong, I used to believe that Yamato was going to join the crew. I really did. About a year ago or so, right? But then one scene came along that changed everything. And that scene was Guardian Deity of Wano. Arguably the strongest argument against Yamato for joining the crew. This is something that Oda had brought up in the canon when Yamato was fighting Kaido. Now, why exactly would this not be important? Lots of Yamato fans do not like hearing this, I know. But why would this be something Oda would just walk past? Why would this be a throwaway comment? Are you telling me Oda just mentioned this just to be cute? That would be very illogical and unnecessary and one of the most pointless things he's ever done. Let's be real. No, Oda did not mention Guardian Deity of Wano for no reason. This has purpose in the story. I hope. Because it'd be strange if it didn't. But this has purpose in the story. Especially after the recent chapters that have come out, mentioning how Kaido's presence kept away a lot of predators and a lot of enemies. This is very important for the protection of Wano because Wano needs to be protected. And it has been clearly shown that the Scabbards and Momonosuke cannot do this. If another admiral shows up without someone strong being there to protect Wano, they are finished. Period. If only they had someone who was strong, who could protect Wano, who could guard it, like a guardian. If only they had a guardian deity of Wano. If only, right? Next point. She barely has any screen time with the crew members. Like, there's pretty much nothing that's significant that we can note. Like, yeah, she got in the bath and swung her titties around and everything. Yes, that's amazing. That's wonderful. So did a bunch of side characters, and this is not necessarily what I would call significant. A bath scene? Really? No, it's not. To certain people, it's significant. To the story, not really. Now we're on to our next point. Yamato spends more time with Momonosuke than anyone else. Now let's think about this. Ever since we met Yamato during the raid on Onigashima, she was always paired with Momonosuke. Once she met Luffy, got her handcuffs taken off, Luffy said, go with Momo and protect him. And so she did that exactly. Then after she spent an ample amount of time with Momo, she dropped him off, then ran off to go fight Kaido. Then when Luffy shows back up to fight Kaido, guess who's there with Luffy? Momonosuke. Who goes with Momonosuke? Yamato. After that, Yamato leaves again from Momonosuke to go take care of some bombs. After the bombs are taken care of, who's there again? Momonosuke. Oh, surprise, surprise. And then she hangs out with him for the rest of that time. Then after the raid is over and everything's completed, Green Bull attacks. And Momonosuke and the Scabbards are fighting Green Bull. Who joins in that battle? Yamato. And once again, Yamato is paired with Momonosuke. And in the very last chapter, right before this video, Momonosuke is looking for everyone else. All the Straw Hats went to the ship, started saying goodbye to Kid and Law and other people. And who is Momonosuke last speaking to at the final part of that chapter? Yamato. Yamato was once again mentioning that she is going to leave with Luffy. But why does Oda keep Yamato with Momonosuke at all times? I find that to be very interesting. That Yamato seems to spend more time with the guy who is staying at Wano, rather than the guy who is leaving Wano. Just something to think about. Now on to our next point. Luffy barely remembers her name. And if he remembers it, he's not using it. Now we all know that Luffy has this thing, where usually he would remember his crewmates' names. Now granted, she's not a crewmate now, but usually Luffy would start to use their name before they join. This often happens. It's not happening right now. This could change, but Oda is really hammering it home with this one. When it came to potential crewmates, Luffy has never gone this far with not remembering a person's name unless if they didn't join. And the anime goes even further with this. This is also one of those points I'm using to say we really shouldn't ignore this. On to the next point. Yamato's weapon is named Takaru. Now, if you don't know this, Takaru, that's really more so of a reference. There was a folklore story of a man named Yamato Takaru. That was the full name of the son of the 12th emperor of Japan, basically the prince. Takaru stands for leader of a fearless tribe, or builder. Builder, as in to build a better Wano. Build Wano back up to what it used to be, to something great again. Now on to our next point. Now this one will rile up some people for sure. She does not have a clear role for the crew. You got all these different people saying all these different things like, oh, combatant or lawkeeper. Now I'm not even gonna get into the reasons why combatant doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because that I really shouldn't have to explain that. But I will get into the lawkeeper one. The lawkeeper one is the best argument for Yamato fans for the most part, but there are some problems with it. If you ask yourself a few questions about this, the lawkeeper thing kinda doesn't make a lot of sense. For example, why are we getting a lawkeeper at the tail end of the story? Oda himself said, hey, we have 3 years left. Okay, so why are we getting a lawkeeper at the end of the story? Wouldn't you want a lawkeeper at the beginning of the story? Now, we heard that in the SBS that Oda has Nami take down the logs. And I get that someone else could take the mantle of that, but at the same time, does it really make any sense? Think about it. Yamato has missed all of East Blue, the entrance to the Grand Line, all of the Paradise part of the Grand Line, when the crew was split up and felt desperate and hopeless, and when they came back together, the reunion, and then the rest of the New World. Yamato even missed the early parts of Wano. And you're telling me that this girl is gonna be the one that documents the great journey of the Straw Hats? Guys, Yamato's not even gonna be able to go to the same places Oden went to. She's not even gonna get a chance to do that because, like Oden, he had a chance to go to Sabaody, Water 7, Skypiea, Fishman Island. He went to many places. But Yamato will not have that luxury. And I find it strange that she would be able to join when we're at the tail end of the series, when the adventure is pretty much about to be over. I find that to be hyper weird. I get the argument for lawkeeper because Oden liked to write in a journal. I understood that. I understand that to this point. But in the context of things, if you ask certain questions, it doesn't make a lot of sense. On top of that, this girl hasn't picked up a pen a day in her life. She has not documented anything before the raid, during the raid, or after the raid. She has shown no actual skill in doing this one particular job. So lawkeeper doesn't make a lot of sense. Because we all know that the Straw Hat crew are abnormally good at what they do. There are certain specific jobs. Yamato has not shown any skill in documentation whatsoever. And it is what it is. Now, some people may mention, well, in Road to Laugh Tale Part 3, Yamato was shown to have her own journal. And to that I say, okay, that's a decent point, but the problem with that is that it's in Road to Laugh Tale. Road to Laugh Tale is a collection of ideas that have been scrapped. This is a scrapped idea. This is an idea that did not make it into the canon. Now, if Oda really truly wanted us to understand that this girl had documentation skills, then it would make sense if he put it in the canon, but it's not in the canon. And that's the part that really bothers me about this whole lawkeeper thing. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And also, the whole combatant thing doesn't make sense. There's really no skill that Yamato has shown that she can use on a pirate ship. I have not seen it. One skill that I have seen from her, however, is that she's very, very strong. She's a good fighter. And no, she's not going to be a combatant. I'm sorry. That's just not happening. All right? Just put that down. but I see her as a protector. I see her as a very good protector, someone who would be able to protect, to guard. This is something that is very evident when Ace had pulled up to Onigashima. Yamato defended Onigashima at that time because that's what her job was, and she was strong enough to do it. And lastly, now this is just me being petty, I'm not gonna lie, but she has a Nami face. I mean, seriously, she literally has a Princess of the Ark face. It doesn't help that she's called the Oni Princess either. It doesn't. I'm sorry, guys. But Yamato is just not meant to be a crew member. But there is someone who's rightly suited for it. That person who will join the Straw Hat crew is none other than Carrot. Now I know what you're thinking. Carrot? Are you crazy? If you were Oda and you wanted Carrot to join, wouldn't you have given Carrot the same treatment as what Yamato is going through? My answer to that is, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't give Carrot a devil fruit that was the guardian deity of Zou. I wouldn't give Carrot 0 moments with the crew. I wouldn't have Luffy not call Carrot by name. I wouldn't name Carrot the Rabbit Princess. I wouldn't have Carrot spend more time with Momonosuke, a non-Straw Hat, than with Luffy. I wouldn't have made Carrot so incredibly strong that it leaves no room for growth in terms of strength and abilities. I wouldn't have named Carrot's weapon Takaru, which means leader or builder, in order to match how a torn down Wano needs to be built back up. I wouldn't have Carrot's character so connected to one specific arc. I wouldn't have Carrot not have a foreshadowed role for the crew in some way. I wouldn't have Carrot be so blatantly obvious and in our face about wanting to join that it comes off unnatural and forced. I wouldn't make Carrot pretend to be an arc-specific character most of her life, in which that character's biggest mistake was leaving the country unguarded in the first place. Yamato is the guardian deity of Wano because of the Mikami Devil Fruit, so it makes sense for her to guard. Momo is the new shogun and has replaced the false shogun Orochi, and Yamato will be the new guardian deity and replace the false guardian deity Kaido. Yamato joining the crew makes absolutely no narrative sense. But Carrot does. Carrot doesn't have the same things holding her back as Yamato. Carrot has a clear position, a clear role on the crew. It's lookout, and everybody knows it. Let's be real. She spent ample time in the crow's nest during Whole Cake Island. When she was first introduced, she was shown doing scouting. Is this a coincidence? And there are some people that like to ignore this and say, okay, lookout isn't just something for one person because people switch out and there's a night and day shift, and Kara can't do a night and day shift. Joke's on you. In the Momodukedom, she takes both night and day shifts. She is a Kingsbird. She is active night and day. That is too convenient to ignore. That is too convenient to pretend like it doesn't exist, because it is a canonical fact. She hung out in the crow's nest, and she happens to be active both day and night. Exactly what the Straw Hats need for a lookout. She is abnormally good at that job, and she's pretty much the only one suited for it. And this just happens to be the one position that's just open on the Straw Hat crew, and nobody pays attention to it. That's kind of wild, actually. And it makes no sense. She's actually spent lots of time with the Straw Hat crew in Zou and mostly Whole Cake Island, like half the crew, but she spent a great amount of time with them. She's gotten close to Nami, has a brother-sister relationship with Chopper, is close to Brook, knows Jinbei. She was even in the Straw Hat group hug with Jinbei, which was foreshadowing, by the way. Let's keep it real. You had a lot of people trying to fight against that and say, oh, well, Wanda, she was in the background in the Spanish translation, and like, stop, just please stop it. That is reaching farther than Gear 5 Luffy, okay? And you know it. Not only that, Luffy actually calls Carrot by name. Matter of fact, there has not been a single time Luffy has called Carrot out of her name. It's never happened. Ever. Her folklore ties are even better. She's based off of the Moon Bunny. And the Moon Bunny did what? They went to the moon. And the moon is a very important part of the One Piece story. I have an entire theory on it. She even has her own original design. But you may have some people that say, in the latest chapter, Carrot was told to be the ruler of Zou. So let's talk about this. Does that make any narrative sense? It's so dumb that even Carrot thinks it's dumb. Carrot doesn't even want to do it. You don't think that Wanda or Shishilian, someone who's been in charge for longer, would have made sense? Most of the fandom, when they look at this, they go, this doesn't make any sense. It's interesting because this scene almost solidified my theory on Carrot joining. And I know it sounds crazy, but when you think about it, in that scene they mentioned Pedro's will. They said, Carrot, come on, you can rule Zou. You're the one who carries Pedro's will. And then I thought about it. I said, Oda hasn't forgotten. There's no way. Because Pedro's will was, when he was younger, he wanted to help the Pirate King throughout his journey. And not only that, but he also wanted to bring the dawn. And he also mentioned to Carrot, he said, Carrot, make sure you help the Straw Hats throughout their journey. It's very important that this happens and that we bring about the dawn. Guys, this all but confirms what Carrot's dream is. Almost confirms. Not 100%, but it pretty much does. Her dream when she joins the Straw Hat crew is more than likely going to be to bring forth the dawn. As vague as that is, more than likely that's going to be the case. This scene made a lot of people doubt, but the analytical ones, the ones that remember Pedro's will and what Pedro wanted, because Pedro never said he wanted to become the ruler of Zou. He never said that. Pedro wanted to help the Straw Hats in their journey. Pedro wanted to bring forth the dawn. And Carrot is the main one who carries Pedro's will the most. And they specified that in the latest chapter. It's easy to turn your brain off to this scene and say, okay, Carrot is going to become the Queen of Zou. And just say, Carrot, confirm not becoming a Straw Hat. But to a lot of people who really do analyze One Piece, when they look at this, take Sawyer 7 Mage for example. When Sawyer saw this, he was like, okay, Pedro's will was to help the Straw Hats out in their journey. He wanted to join the Pirate King's crew. He couldn't do that at that time. So this put Carrot, this was the one thing to put Carrot back on the radar for Sawyer 7 Mage. Out of all that time of thinking that Carrot was not going to join, this was the one thing. And it makes sense. Because if Carrot somehow does not join the crew still, there needs to be a serious explanation on why. Because they brought up Pedro's will, and that is a huge thing that basically confirms her to become a Straw Hat. And of course, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but it's crazy when you see how many people turn their brains off to this kind of stuff when it's right in front of their face. I find it so weird. All you have to do is a little bit of digging. Just a little bit, not very much. There are lots of people that have said, oh, Oda wouldn't do that. Oda's been hyping up Yamato this entire time. Oda would never just switch out Yamato for Carrot just because. That would be mean. That's not like Oda at all. Newsflash, Oda's pretty much already done this before. He did this with Vivi and Robin. Now granted, it was kind of obvious that Vivi wasn't joining the crew, let's be real, because she was the Princess of Alabasta, she had her duties that she was focused on. Vivi was basically just early Momo. Momo's just like Vivi, right? So it's kind of obvious. But Robin wasn't really that obvious. Robin was very unexpected for me. But with that being said, Oda did that in the past already. What's stopping him from doing it again? Oda really is that kind of guy. He would troll somebody for that. He would put a red herring in front of somebody. He would do these things. He most definitely would. And for almost a year now, I've been saying, he's doing it again. And I'm fine with him doing this again. I believe that Carrot will make a great Straw Hat, a phenomenal Straw Hat. I believe Carrot has so much narrative potential for the future of the story. I really do. And I look forward to seeing what creative works Oda can do with her, because I'm positive that she will be the next crewmate. Carrot is the one that's best suited for the next crewmate, and I will stand my ground on that until proven otherwise. Guys, Carrot is just better than Yamato in every single way. If you enjoyed this video, please by all means like and subscribe so you can join the vagabond's journey. We're off to our next destination. With that said, Vagabond gone.